Nature Conversations, episode 42 with Carrie Palmer and my good friend
Candace Sanderson. Great to see everybody.
So I've got a story to share with you. Okay, I live in a neighborhood in the Puget Sound. I live amongst humans, okay? So I have a big park that I go to quite a bit, and there's a lot of people. This thing that they do, and I know they do this all over the country. People, they take rocks and they paint them and then they hide them in parks.
Yes.
And people find them, and then you put hashtag your city and like. So anyway, I painted a lot of rocks over time just for fun, especially during COVID, when I was done painting, just trying to be artistic. And I've hit a lot. So I've been on this Facebook page to where it's like people post the rocks they find, and it's just something to do. A lot of people do it with their kids. So recently on this page, somebody posted recently that they were in the park and there was a man that looked suspicious and they got really scared. And they're like, so this conversation is blowing up on this Facebook page. And I think you know exactly where I'm going with this. It's like this person is like, oh, you know what? That's why I pack my gun when I go. And it's like, you know what? We should all carry weapons. We should be, bring a weapon. You should be carrying when you're out there. And so I'm watching this conversation unfold. So I'm like, okay, first of all, and I'm no longer on the page after this. So anyway, I went on and I'm just like, just a little comment. I don't know if you understand the law of attraction, if you don't look it up, but all this conversation that you're having about all this bad stuff that's happening in the park, you're going to make happen in the park. I'm like, you're going to all of a sudden see all the incidents in this park going up because you won't stop talking about it. It's like, so I just made it really simple. I'm like, the more you talk about it, the more you're creating this. And I'm just saying, look into it because it's just not really good to go down this rabbit hole.
Tell me how people responded. I can't wait.
Well, see, that's where I know better. So I posted it, and I usually post and go. I don't go back to see. But for some reason, I went back to this within minutes, and there was 5 posts who do you think? And I'm just like, I immediately deleted my comment and I removed myself from the page because I remembered. I'm like, oh, I forgot what I was like when I was a human. Okay, I'm a human. But it was just like all of a sudden, all the energy got so negative and you need to bring a gun. And so I go to the park still every single day, and I will always go by myself. I don't need a weapon. Nobody's going to come near me because I cannot attract that where I'm vibrating. At my frequency, there's no way it will come near me. But the way these people are going down that rabbit hole, I'm just watching them and I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to be hearing the police blotter. It's all this stuff going on in the park. And so it's people, the more you talk about this stuff, the more you create this crazy energy and you bring on the problems, and you'll say, see, I told you.
Right, right.
You did it, people. So yeah, that's that. I'm just people, but it's that's why I feel it's I'm in this neighborhood. I'm around there. What do we think? 95% of the people are just functioning,
Right.
But, and we're not those, but it's so hard for me sometimes to be enmeshed with all these people and that's why I just like to be on my own, and I need to back up. And yeah, it's crazy.
What you're talking about is fear. And it is so easy for humans to get into this attitude of fear of this might happen, so we should do this and we should do that. And what they're doing is they're just fueling that fire by
feeding the monster.
Yes, by giving it more and more attention. So the more that you feed it, the larger that monster is going to grow. When instead, use what you know, which is the law of attraction, and choose what you want to give. Choose who you want to feed or what you want to feed. Do you want to feed that monster of fear of something that might happen, or you see someone and they're suspicious? Oh my goodness. That's taking that adage about the water in the glass, is it half empty or half full? That's taking it to a totally different level.
Yep.
Why not step back, realize that you are responsible for your own behavior? And as part of your own behavior, you and I know this, Carrie, but a lot of people don't. As being responsible for your own self and your own behavior, We're also talking about your energy field. So, what
Mhm.
you bring into your life, what you literally attract by way of these vibrations, you're responsible for that. If something's coming in towards you and you're not comfortable with it, put a shield up, put a
Yeah.
bubble up. You can do that and it actually works. And
Yes.
then as you keep those things that you don't want into your energy field, then you're raising your vibrations. And as you raise your vibrations, when you see someone on the street, you're not going to think in terms of, are they suspicious? You're going to be looking into their higher selves. You're going
Yes.
to be looking into what's good with people. And again, once we continue to uplift ourselves and everyone else around us, we start attracting those little butterflies.
Yes.
We will start attracting these wonderful experiences where like-minded people will come into you and you're into your life, and then you'll no longer be thinking, I saw a suspicious person, I'm going to start packing, or whatever it is they call it when they bring weapons. Instead, step out of the fear and into love. Step away from lower vibrational frequencies
Yeah.
and step into the higher ones. And these things won't bother you and you won't be feeding it. Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah, it is crazy because I mean, thinking back, the same park when I had my daughter, I was one of these people because I remember I had my baby jogger and I was like, oh, I'm not going to go in this park without my husband because if I do, like a bad guy will come out behind a tree and he'll like rape me, take my baby. It's like I have all these stories that I made up. And it's like that's what we do
Right.
as humans. Like I remember my daughter, one of her best friends is a runner, and she would go running through the trails there because it is like there's a big park near it. It's very wooded, very treed, but it's more occupied there. But where I go
Yeah.
now, there's hardly any people, and it's just trails and no trail signs. But she would go running, and one day she saw a guy with a chainsaw. So what do people do? Immediately go to some horror movie. And I'm like, because these people ride bikes through here and there's trees that have fallen and they like to cut the logs off the trails. They're not there to cut your head off. They just don't want to do that. It's so nuts. But so being there, I would not have been able to understand that. I would have never gone into this park that I go in now. I would have never gone by myself ever. But now it's like, I know there's nothing there that can possibly hurt me. But for the average human who does live with fear, I mean, we have let go of fear. I fear nothing. It's like I fear nothing anymore. I mean, it's like when you know you're not going to die, what's left to fear? It's like my plane's crashing. Okay, see ya, going down. It's like, there's no fear out there. But when I was living in fear, which 95% I think of the population does experience that,
Right.
I don't want to go into a park where everybody's carrying guns. It's like that just doesn't sound like
No.
fun to me. But I mean, I will continue to go there. And when I go, I tend to see nobody. When I do hear voices, I'll go somewhere else. I'll just walk off a different direction. But yeah, fear is going to live with mankind. But it's just when they start creating that energy and the buzz, the group mentality, the collective fear, it's like then
Right.
you are bringing in your problems, people, and you can't do that. I wrote something about suspicious in what way. It's like they might look like somebody that was a bad person in your life, but
Right.
you can't look at somebody and say you are that. You don't know anything about anybody. Nobody does. We are who we are at our heart's core. But it's like you don't. They posted that, and they all fed on this one person's identification with a suspicious person to them. I'm like, really? People, step out of it. I know I have my
Well,
expectations for humanity.
I admire you for dropping out of that group because we don't need, well, I guess the question is, do we need to invite that sort of energy into
No,
our lives, into our energy fields? No.
no,
So good for
I
you
stay
for
away from
dropping
it.
out of it. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's I think where I've elevated myself and I've been able to stay there because when I'm around something like that, I talked to a mutual friend Connie about it.
Mhm.
We were talking yesterday about something and I was walking in that park and she said something and I'm like, well, Connie, when you get to that place where you've got that huge decision to make, which one feels icky? Go with the one that doesn't feel icky every time. And so staying on
Exactly.
that page and watching them go would have felt icky. So I just decided, delete, I'm no longer in the group and I won't see it anymore. It's just a choice. We make that simple choice And I have made the right choice every time moving forward, because if it's going to feel even slightly icky, I don't do it. I just move on and it feels delicious every time.
We have these nudges from spirit, and how we receive those nudges. Now, I get downloads and I hear them speak in paragraphs, but a lot of people don't do that.
No,
We will
most of us
get
don't.
we will get a nudge because we'll get cold chills or we have just this feeling, but it's learning to trust that internal guidance system that we have that guides us from our energy systems, from our guides, from our angels. And all we have to do is pause, be quiet, and listen. Does it feel good? Go in that direction. Does it feel icky?
Mm,
Then, okay, that's something we're going to stay away from. So,
yep.
very good. It felt icky and you left. Good for you. This sounds
So
like a good place for us to wrap up. Remember, we
yes.
are all energy beings. Use your energy wisely. Make choices from your heart and decide what works best for you. Because remember, what you feed is going to grow. What do you
Yes,
want to
it
be
will.
feeding into your lives?
Thank you, Candy. Thanks to everyone. And until next time, make sure you share and make sure you like us and subscribe. And we will see you next time on Spiritual Conversations. Thank
Yes, we
you.
will. Bye, guys.
Bye.